Hello students, welcome once again to this week lesson. This week we'll be continuing our lesson on evolution. At the end of this week lesson, we should be able to explain the evidences of evolution. We should be able to explain also the evolutionary trends in plant groups and also the evolutionary trends in vertebrates. And we also look at the term extinction. Now, let's look at the first evidence of evolution, which is fossil record. Now, the fossil records, what are fossils? Fossils are remains of the hard part of organisms that have lived many years. Remember that here there is a word that you should note, hard part of organisms that have lived many years. Now, how are these fossils gotten? Now, they are generally preserved in sedimentary rock, because sedimentary rocks are formed by the deposition of silt, calcium, and calcium carbonate over millions of years. These three things make up the sedimentary rock, because when silt is being deposited, it gives rise to shells, and when sand is being deposited, it gives rise to sandstone. When calcium carbonate is being deposited, it gives rise to limestone. Geography student will have more insight about it. So the most common way of fossil formation involves the ultimate conversion of the hard parts of the body of some organism like bone, teeth, and shells into rock. It occurs mainly, especially when an organism or an animal dies. The organic materials in its bone will gradually decay away. This will result in the bone becoming porous. So when the bone becomes porous, the animal will subsequently become buried in the mud. So mineral particles will now infiltrate into the bones and gradually fill the spores. When the mud turns into rock, the bone will become hardened. And when the bone is hardened and are preserved there, they are preserved there forever. Sometimes dead animals can even be covered by wind-blown sand. This sand will subsequently be turned into mud by heavy rain or flooding. So the same process of mineral infiltration may occur. It will be easy for paleontologists to use a hammer or a chisel to separate the fossil from the rock or the matrix surrounding the fossil. This is always possible because sedimentary rocks, the structure of sedimentary rock makes it available or comparatively soft, and so that it can be quickly or easily eroded. So when they can be eroded, or they can be able to see structures like this inside the rock, depending. So if you look at it, you see similarities on this structure that have been embedded inside the rock. These structures are found inside the sedimentary rocks. So if you look at them, you can be able to use these structures to identify different similarities that occur over different years. If you look at these structures, you see that we have similarities over the structures of this organism. So with this, we can be able to identify, use it as an evidence that this organism, they have some structures in common. Because if you look at the evolution of these feathers, the evolution of wings of the Archaeopteryst, you see that there are a lot of similarities. You see them. Both the feathers and the bone itself. There are a lot of similarities that occurs there. What are these similarities showing us? The similarities is ascertain definitely that this organism, they came from a similar origin. They have a common communicator. So this is the evidence of evolution. It tries to show us using dead or organic materials that have been embedded inside the sedimentary rock over many years to tell us that there is a link between this organism that have stayed there for billions of years ago and with this one. This is always calculated by the use of what we call geologic timetable. While paleontologists will always use the geologic timetable to buttress or calculate how many years it took different layers of the sedimentary rock to be formed. So with that, they can be able to determine how many years it have taken for this particular organism to remain in that particular rock before this other one will come up. The second one is comparative anatomy. The comparative anatomy, here we'll see similarities that occurs in organism in which their anatomy, their structural similarities between unrelated organisms are very, very visible. We can see, for instance, when we have a superficial dissimilarity that occur between the wing of a bat, the arm of a man, and the flipper of a whale, we'll see that these things, why are they closely, or why are they similar? Why do we see all these structures that seems to be the same? Why are these structures common in these plants or in these mammals, what we call the pentadactyl limb? Now look at the human pentadactyl limb. You will see the humerus, you see the radius, you see carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges. You see all of them. You see it being differentiated with these colors. You see this with humerus, you see radius, you see carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges. The same whale and the bat. Though all of them, they have this pentadactyl limb. Apart from this pentadactyl limb that they have, which is showing us that these organisms, for them to have this similar anatomical structure, this anatomical structure is buttressing that these organisms, they have a common link. In mammals, this pentadactyl is common. This limbs is very, very common, in which you see 5 fingers. These 5 grasping fingers, the 5 fingers, the 5 phalanges being present. So it is common in all mammals, showing that all these organisms, they have a common origin. They have a common communicator. That's the evidence of anatomical structure. Another example that I'll give here is that we have one fundamental feature in all living things, which is that all living things consist of one or more cells. Some textbooks will buttress this as a different evidence based on cytology. But here, it is essential that cells are structurally similar in all organisms. So when cells are similar in all organisms, where you see different organisms, they have this almost the same, or they have similar cell components. You see similar cell organelles in all organisms. What is it telling us? Why do all these organisms have essential similar structure? Because will be ascertain that all these organisms have a common communicator. They have a common origin. So if you see it as an evidence of, maybe you are asked in the exam, evidence of cytology, your mind should come on based on the similarities of these organisms, on their cell component. Or you can even buttress it under a comparative anatomy, because this world is all about the structural similarities that occurs in organisms. From the assignment I gave you last week, you will be able to examine that when I ask you about homologous structures is based on the comparative anatomy. Those structures that plays the same role. Those structures that are similar. They are similar in function. These ones are, they came from the same origin. So although that most of them, they might be playing variable roles, but so far that they are coming out from the same origin, we say that they are homologous. So whenever you see homologous structures, you can always use it to explain the comparative anatomy, or you can always use comparative anatomy to explain homologous structures. We have the comparative physiology. In the comparative physiology, we will look at the physiological attributes of living organisms, like enzymes and hormones, or that are common, that are similar in many groups of animals and plants. Like now, for example, resins and oil that you always see in a pine tree is also common in other gymnosperms. When you talk about hormones like trypsin is present right from the small animals, small invertebrate like protozoa. From protozoa, we see the trypsin to man. Trypsin is present from protozoa to man. When we talk about amylase is also found in the majority of animals. So and not just that, it's also found in majority of animals. The action of this enzyme, both trypsin and amylase, remains the same. So the role that these enzymes play is similar in all animals. Thyroid hormone, when it comes to hormone, you see thyroid hormone is present in all vertebrates. All vertebrates, you see thyroid hormone or thyroid hormone there. To the extent that the thyroid hormone of vertebrate is exchangeable. It's exchangeable among them. Unlike, for example, the thyroid hormone from cattle has been used successfully to treat a human being that has a thyroid deficiency, and it went successfully. So what is it telling us? It's still tracing on the evidence of evolution that these organisms, for them to have these similar structures, that they must have originated from a common origin or from a common ancestor. They have a similar phylogeny. Phylogeny is whenever you hear about phylogeny, phylogeny is the ancestral link, the origin, the history of a particular set of living organisms. So they are from the same phylogeny, they are from the same origin, they are from the same ancestry. The next one is vestigial organs. Vestigial organs, that are the ones that we say that they are rudimentary organs that are found in plants and animals. They are the organs that are not playing their major role, that their major role have become a rudimentary role, or they will say that they are now useless, or they have been reduced to little organs that plays either minor role or nothing. We have, for example, we have the appendix. Appendix in ruminants, you see appendix and the cecum playing a major role as the cecum playing a major role of digestion of cellulose. But when it comes to man, you see the appendix playing nothing, doing nothing. Instead, it stays there to be a harborer of diseases, in which some people will even remove it so that because of to avoid it causing a disease called appendicitis. So it plays no role. We have the cyst. The cyst is there. We have nipple. We have pineal gland, thymus gland. The nipple here is for the male. Because nipple should be is a structure buttressed by the female that is used for breastfeeding. Now, in the absence of that, the nipple has been the male nipple have been reduced to nothing because it's not playing its role again. So we have the ear muscle, we have the tympanic membrane. These things are different vestigial organs that are found in animals. The evidence from embryology. Before we go into details of it, we should ask ourselves, what is embryology? Embryology is that branch of biology that is concerned with the formation of the embryo and its development from the egg to birth. Quite known that embryology of multicellular organisms was active. It's very, very active, that it shows the various stages in the embryo development, in the development of the embryo. So at the early stage of birth development, the embryo shows what looks like a fish. The embryo of man shows what looks like a fish. This thing is prominent, that this embryo of vertebrate, that is, all of them stands to look like a fish during their first stage of development. Why do they look like a fish? Because they come from a similar origin. Now, apart from that, we see that during the developmental stage too, that gill slit is common. All the embryos, all the fish, you see presence of gill slit, reptiles presence of gill slit, bird presence of gill slit, human beings presence of gill slit. But after the early developmental stage, some of these organs will disappear. It's showing us, for these things to appear during this stage, that they must have a common ancestry. Okay, now we have the tail. We see that the tail is common in all vertebrates. The tail bone is common in all vertebrates. That some of them will bring out visible appendages, while some of them, their own will be reduced into the example that of the man that is reduced to a cyst. So since these things are visible, the tails are visible during the embryonic stage. The tails, you see visible tails during this stage. So which shows that these organisms too, that they came from a similar or from the same origin. The evolutionary trends in plants. In these evolutionary trends, when we talk about plants, it's always wise for us to understand the relationship or the advancement between one plant group and the other. For example, the size and the importance of the gametophyte decreases. Look at here, we have the gametophyte, here we have the sporophyte. Look at the size of the gametophyte. Here, as you move along, it decreases. The size of the gametophyte decreases progressively from alga to moss, from moss to fern plant, from fern plant progressively. You see that it decreases. Look at the arrow. It decreases. The gametophyte decreases along. Why the sporophyte? The sporophyte increases. Look at it. From the alga, you see the sporophyte increasing. So when we see here the spermatophyte, you see that the sporophyte is larger, is dominant. Why in this area you see this gametophyte being dominant, and it decreases along. So the sporophyte increases, it becomes greater and larger, it becomes more independent during this level here. But here the gametophyte becomes more independent. Apart from that too, you see that in their vascular system, you see the introduction of the vascular bundle, that at this stage no vascular bundle. Moss plant, no vascular bundle. But if you enter into the fern group, you see presence of vascular bundle. You see presence of vascular bundle. You see presence of vascular throughout the spermatophyte. So you see that these things, they are in a step-by-step, they are in a trend-like way. They keep on moving gradually, progressively. So the introduction of vascular tissues in plant, that brings about the tracheophytes, made them possible for them to survive in a dry land, because these organisms, they have to move from aquatic environment. Remember that the algae, they live in an aquatic environment. The moss plants, they live in a moist environment. So immediately they are entering into a terrestrial environment, they need structures that will be able to conduct water. So you see that as they keep on advancing, that they keep on developing structures that will enable them to adapt to that particular environment. So you see that here also, that early vascular plants, we have the fern plant, that they are homosporous. When we say that an organism is homosporous, listen, homosporous is an organism that produces only one kind of spore. But advanced plants like this, they are heterosporous. They produce two kinds of spores that are called microspore and megaspore. So here you always see plants that are heterosporous, while in this area you see plants that are homosporous. Now the evolutionary trends in vertebrates. You see that in vertebrates there is movement from water to land. And for them to survive, they have to develop some specific adaptation to withstand those things. What are they? Since immediately they are leaving land, mode of reproduction will change. From external fertilization, internal fertilization will come. Development of scales, we know all these adaptations to land. So they will try to overcome problems imposed by living on land. From simple to complex, they will start to develop more organized system, respiratory system more advanced, excretory system more advanced, more efficient system will emanate. So even increase in size of the system, increase in the volume ratio will come in. So appearance of a successful adaptation where you see jaws, pair appendages, they will have to develop limbs that will help them to move around in the terrestrial environment. They have to develop limbs that will help them to run away from predators. So different adaptations will emanate. Just like you can see from Pisces, you see the early amphibians to reptiles, the early reptiles to from birds to mammals. So you keep on seeing that as they keep on going, development of different things, both jaws, lungs, claws will come in. Or claws will come in. After claws, you see force, mammary gland will come in. As you move along the trend of complexity. Now, let's look at another example. A comparison of the brain. We have the shark here, or reptiles, amphibians, reptiles, mammal, and the bird. So if we make a comparison of the brain of this, we see that changes have occurred. The most obvious is that if you look at the size of the cerebrum, in mammals, the cerebral hemisphere, look at the cerebral hemisphere here is large. We have a large cerebral hemisphere that is dominant, and it keeps on decreasing as you go down the trend. Look at the large cerebral hemisphere here. As you move down, it keeps on decreasing. As you move down, it keeps on decreasing, even to the Pisces, it keeps on reducing. Because the cerebral hemisphere is the center of knowledge. That's why we say that the human beings, they are the Homo sapiens. Sapiens, which means wise. They are the most wisest upon all living creatures because of this increase in the cerebral hemisphere. Because the cerebral hemisphere is more large, they can be able to reason and analyze in a wider region. Can also reason here that if we have the midbrain, that there is a gradual decrease. Look at the midbrain. The midbrain is here. There is a gradual decrease in the size of the midbrain from here, move down. You see here, the size of the midbrain is larger. Here is larger, here is larger, but here in human beings, smaller. In human beings, we have a decrease in the size of the midbrain. So, because both the size of the midbrain and its importance reduces. What are these things showing us? It's trying to tell us that these organisms, for them to have these links of increase and decrease in some of these major factors, that they came from a similar origin. There is a link between one organism and the other. Look at the midbrain. Look at the midbrain of a bird. Look at the cerebrum of a bird. You will see that as they keep on going. Now, extinction. What is extinction? It's a situation where a species that once inhabited the earth dies out. What might be the cause of this? It might be due to changes in the environment, such as climate, maybe appearance of new predators, or even emanation of diseases, or even competition can lead to extinction, where organisms start to hunt for the other. Deforestation, it can bring about extinction. What are some of the organisms that are extinct today? The organisms include dodo, Tasmanian wolf, wood bison, giant otter, and other ones. So extinction, which the opposite of it is extant. Either something is extinct or extant. So we have organisms that are no longer in existence, which are the extinct organisms. And these are some of the examples of these organisms. Okay, my view on evolution. What is the teacher's view on evolution? Different authors have given their view and accept the synthesis of different theories. But as far as I'm concerned, I have a synthesis of spatial creation and steady state as the real explanation of how organisms or species emanated and occupied the planet. Because of evolution cannot explain the development of a variety of complex structures provided by multicellular organisms. like the vertebrates and others. The question could be asked, why have the elements that make up these organisms not evolved from one to another? For example, why has iron not changed to bronze or gold or silver or anything over the years? Why have the gases oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen still remain the same from the primordial atmosphere until today? We know that oxygen and nitrogen occur in large quantities in animal and plants. Why have these gases not changed in structure and undergone mutation to form other gases? We also know that element is on the electrochemical series have been arranged in table to show similarity. Yet over the years, we have not been told that these elements have changed to something else. So if there are many examples of them, or that we can always buttress, but why haven't they changed to something else? They have remained as they were. So I opine that the similarities found in animals, like the homologous structures and other similar structures in organisms that are related, are not indicative of a common ancestry, but indicative of a common creator, whose works reflect his unique and similar artistry. So although some variations could occur in plants and animals as a result of mutation, yes, I agree with that very, very well. And the environment too can also bring about those changes too, or mutation. This variation cannot account for the complexity and differences found among living things. So it couldn't actually make a species to change to another form more complex than itself. It can only bring about variation, but it cannot bring about speciation. This is my view. Thank you. Till next week.